The harsh scrape of metal dragging across concrete snapped me awake, followed by voices, counting, arguing over steps, adjusting angles, laughing like they had every right to be there. When I pulled open my front door, a rental truck sat parked in my driveway, and strangers were unloading rows of white chairs straight onto my lawn. Not the curb, not the sidewalk. My lawn. A woman wearing a headset pointed toward my porch and said, "Aisle goes here. Ceremony starts at 3. "Excuse me," I said. "What ceremony?" That's when the HOA president stepped forward, her phone already recording, her expression calm. "Relax, David," she said smoothly. "The board approved your house weeks ago." Then she smiled just slightly and added, "And you really don't want to be the reason this wedding gets canceled." Linda Caraway never asked permission. She never needed to. She walked right past me onto my porch, issuing instructions like my front door was just another stage entrance. "Move the chairs back 2 feet," she called out without slowing. "We need symmetry for photos." Then she turned to me as if noticing me for the first time. "David, please don't make this harder than it has to be." She carried herself like someone who always won. Clipboard tucked on her arm, tone practiced, controlled. 7 years as HOA president. No one even ran against her anymore. "This isn't happening," I said. "This is my property." She let out a soft sigh, the kind adults use when correcting a child. "The board approved temporary community use. It's a private ceremony, tasteful and beneficial for neighborhood morale." She delivered it in one clean sentence, like that should settle everything. Behind her, 2 board members lingered near the driveway, pretending not to listen while quietly taking photos of my house. Documentation, not curiosity. "The Thompsons are major contributors," Linda added under her breath. "This matters." There it was, her real reason. Image, influence, donors. My home was just a convenient backdrop. "I never agreed to this," I said. Her smile tightened, controlled. "You didn't object." Then she leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You don't even use the yard anymore. Let the community have it for one afternoon." Before I could respond, she stepped back and waved someone forward with measuring tape, already acting as if the decision had been finalized. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about a wedding. It was about control. The first violation came before noon. While I stood on my porch, 2 volunteers walked past me and began pressing thin wooden stakes into the edges of my lawn. No warning, no request, just quiet efficiency, like they practiced this before. "Those need to come out," I said. One of them didn't even look up. We were told the property was cleared. Cleared by who didn't seem to matter to them. By early afternoon, laminated signs appeared along my fence. "Reserved area. Do not block. Event access only." Someone taped one directly to my mailbox. Another was zip-tied to my rose trellis. I cut it down. 10 minutes later, it was replaced. My phone buzzed once. Not a letter, an automated HOA notice. Temporary community activity in progress. Interference may result in fines. No explanation. No vote record. Just a threat dressed up as policy. A photographer wandered through my side yard, snapping pictures like he was scouting real estate. When I told him to leave, he shrugged. "HOA said you were difficult. Told us to document everything." Difficult. The word followed me the rest of the day. Whispered, implied, quietly reinforced. By sunset, a catering van pulled halfway into my driveway. The driver gave me an apologetic wave. "We'll be quick," he said. "They told us you were on board." I wasn't, but by then, a pattern had formed. Small intrusion spaced just far enough apart to feel almost accidental. Polite trespassing. Soft pressure. Each one daring me to overreact. Standing there, watching strangers treat my home like borrowed space, I realized something unsettling. They weren't testing my rights. They were testing how quiet I'd stay. Everything shifted the moment the board stepped in. At 7:12 the next morning, my inbox flooded all at once. 5 emails, identical subject lines, sent within seconds of each other. Temporary use authorization, community event. No greeting. No explanation. Just a PDF stamp with the HOA logo, citing bylaws I had never seen before. According to the document, my property had been designated a shared use location for a one-day community function, approved under executive board discretion. Executive discretion. Not a vote, not consent. An hour later, 2 board members showed up unannounced. They didn't knock. They stood at the end of my driveway taking photos. Wide shots, close-ups, angles that felt less like documentation and more like inventory. What are you doing? I asked. Routine verification. One of them said, already taking another picture. Verification of what? He didn't explain. That afternoon, Linda slid a formal notice under my door. This one came with numbers. Daily fines, escalating penalties, language about liens if I interfered with scheduled community operations. It wasn't subtle anymore. This wasn't volunteers overstepping. This was the system closing ranks. When I called the HOA office, no one answered. When I emailed asking for the vote record, the reply came instantly and cold. Board authority does not require homeowner participation. That's when I understood the shift. This wasn't Linda pushing boundaries on her own. The board had decided I was manageable. And once a system decides that silence isn't neutrality anymore, it's permission. I didn't uncover the truth by confronting anyone. I found it by accident, buried 3 replies deep in a forwarded email chain, sent too quickly to clean up. Was a name I hadn't noticed before. Thompson Development Group. Not the family. The company. I searched it. 2 minutes later, everything clicked. The Thompsons weren't just donors. Their firm was negotiating with the HOA over a zoning variance for a mixed-use development near the rail junction. Parking concessions, noise exemptions, approvals that don't happen without goodwill. And suddenly, my house wasn't a wedding venue. It was leverage. The ceremony wasn't about celebration. It was optics. Photos, politicians, local planners. A perfect backdrop to sell the illusion of community harmony, while deals moved quietly behind the scenes. That explained the urgency, the pressure, why Linda kept saying it mattered. I kept scrolling. There was an internal message from Linda, sent weeks earlier. David's placed photographs well. He keeps to himself. Low resistance. Low resistance. It hit all at once. The anger, the shame, the realization that my silence after my wife died had been repurposed as consent. This wasn't about me being difficult. It was about them assuming I wouldn't fight back. For the first time since this started, I let myself feel it fully. Not irritation, not grief. Rage. Sharp. Steady. Because this was an HOA mistake. It was a calculated decision to use my home, my absence, my quiet, to grease a deal worth far more than a wedding. And if that was true, if money and influence were already in motion, then this wasn't just a neighborhood dispute anymore. It was fraud dressed in flowers, which meant the next step wasn't arguing. It was forcing the system to look at itself.